Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Mabel Delgado. Our group is going to present about the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933, and my classmates are Ivan and Lázaro. Okay, we're gonna start, okay? Thank you for joining us. Hi, Mabel here. Okay, my question is, what was the economic environment of the U.S. from 1929 until 1933? Okay, so during those years, between 1929 until 1933, was the years of the Great Depression in the United States. The Great Depression of 1929 devastated the U.S. economy. However, all the banks failed, and unemployment rose to 25%, and homelessness increased also. Housing prices plummeted 30%, international trade collapsed by 60%, and prices fell 10%. It took more than 25 years for the stock market to recover completely, and by the end of the year, the country has suffered already like more than 5 years of the economic contraction. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mabel, and now here's why the banks were separated. The Glass-Steagall Act is a law that was passed in 1933. It separated investment banking from retail banking. From then on, retail banks only took deposits, managed checking accounts, and made loans, opposed to investment banking, which was only used for investors. This law was passed to prevent banks from using locals' funds for investors' purposes, which was affecting the banks and making them go out of business. By segregating the two banks, they were prohibited from using depositors' funds for risky investments. And now, here's Ivan.
Thank you, Lázaro. Now I'll be talking a little bit about some of the advantages of the segregated financial markets. And some of the advantages were that it provided a safer and more effective use of the assets of banks, and it also regulated interbank control to prevent the undue diversion of funds into speculative operations. The Act also gave tighter regulations of national banks to the Federal Reserve System, requiring holding companies and other affiliates of states member banks to do 3 reports annually to their Federal Reserve Bank and to the Federal Reserve Bank. So in addition, the Act introduced what later became known as the Regulation Q, which mandated that interest could not be paid on checking accounts, and gave the Federal Reserve authority to establish ceilings on the interest that could not be paid on other kinds of deposits. Now, I'll leave you back to Lázaro.
Thank you so much for that, Mabel. And now this is why the banks wanted to terminate the Glass-Steagall Act. Even though the Glass-Steagall Act was created for the banks that were failing in that era, the banks wanted to terminate it for the simple reason that it would prohibit commercial banks from engaging in the investment business. Passing the Glass-Steagall Act would mean tighter regulation of the national banks of our Federal Reserve System and prohibit bank sales of security. By terminating the act, banks would have more freedom to use more funds. And now, back to you, Mabel.
So to conclude, the Banking Act created the FDIC to safeguard consumers' deposits at commercial banks, and included the Glass-Steagall provisions to reduce the risk of providing such insurance. Thank you.
Alright, so thank you so much for watching our informational video on the Glass-Steagall Act. I hope it was informative, and see you next time.